I'm joined by Fabiola, who is the GM at Mercedes-Benz of Lubbock. And Fabiola, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a great honor.
Yeah. So how cool is it to be praised so highly by Rick Cavender on LinkedIn? Isn't that cool?
It's amazing. That's what I love. And Rick Cavender, he has been such a pivotal piece of my growth here within the organization.
That's
and who
cool.
can actually say, hey, my owner has a personal relationship with me and an investment into my career. That's amazing.
Yeah, how cool. And I mean, there's two sides of it. On the extremes is that you've seen it where it's the traditional part of automotive where they have no investment into the next generation of leaders. And then you're part of a group like Cavender where they literally go out of their way to help raise up those next leaders to the point where they, let you become GM. Isn't that cool?
I think that's amazing. And that's one thing that I just really am appreciative, because this is not the first time they've promoted, a woman to a position of power within the organization. Sure. So there's another lady called Julie Herrera who actually owns her own entire group now in Austin. Wow. They just opened their new superstore out in Austin. And Julie Herrera, she was the first general manager over at the Audi store. That was a female. So she kind of ushered our way within the Cavender. So thank you, Julie.
Yeah. Blazing some trails.
Yeah, seriously, blazing that trail. And then also because, for example, Stephen and Rick Cavender's daughters are both within the organization, and they work their ways up into being managers. And, Claire heads up basically all of our outreach programs. So we are very big into the community. So Rick, that's right, taught me one thing, and he said, if we take care of the community will take care of us. And he really believes that. And so much so that he has his daughter running around town all the time and basically giving out money to everybody because, we do want to take care of our community.
Yeah. But there's a lot of cool things you guys are doing. Like even right now, I think you're still doing a veteran giveaway. For a car, which is really cool that you're doing big things like that. Oh,
yeah. So, we also have the cousins. We call them the brothers and the cousins.
Yeah.
And so on the cousin side, that's going to be the Cavender Auto Group. And they're doing great things over there with them, giving away cars to, our hardworking military personnel. My husband's a veteran, so that's one thing that is near and dear to my heart too. And then, with the Cavender brothers, which is Stephen and Rick, we just did a huge United Way campaign throughout all of the stores, and we raised several $100,000 for United Way and all the programs that are, within United Way.
How cool. So even so you got the two sides of this, and even just the family as a whole, it's really clear that they are so invested in giving back to their local community. That's got to be really cool to be a part of.
Oh, 1,000%. And the great thing about it is they're so locked into their community because they know that, that's just the right thing to do. There's some other organizations which, go into a dealership and you can feel the difference between if it's family owned or if it's corporate. Because a lot of the corporates, they don't spend time doing community outreach. They don't even care because they're like, well, we have a dealership, we're going to make the money, but we're not going to reinvest in our communities. So I just think that, there's a really big difference there.
Yeah, for sure. And Fabiola, how did you first start in automotive? What did that look like?
So it's kind of a funny story. I was working for Nordstrom, and I was a department manager. I was managing jewelry, and my old roommate's then boyfriend was a manager over at a Toyota store. And him and I meet. Next thing you know, we're neighbors. And he goes, how do you like it at Nordstrom? And I'm like, well, I really love Nordstrom as an organization, but I just feel like I want something different. Not that I didn't love it, because Nordstrom taught me a ton. But then I was like, well, I kind of want to try something else, Yeah. And in doing so, I was actually dating somebody in automotive too. And he was the finance manager. And I was like, if this guy can make that kind of money, so can I.
Usually when someone says that, they have the word schmuck attached to it.
No, he was a good guy. And I'm so glad, because I'm so thankful that in the end, he's with a great organization too. Yeah. And if it weren't for me seeing how much success can come from the automotive business, I would have never gotten in. And then thankful to also my old roommate's boyfriend at the time. He got me an interview at Toyota, and that's where I had my start as pretty big dealership in Toyota of Bernie that's owned by Vic Vaughn, who is a huge influence in my career because like I always said, I want to be just like the Vic Vaughns and the Rick Cavenders of the world.
Yeah, you've got some good role models in your life. So what brought you to Cavender? Like when did that transition start happening?
Oh, okay. So basically, it was kind of weird. I ended up moving back to Maine for a couple of months because my parents, that's where I grew up, was in Maine.
I see. Yeah.
And I moved back home for a couple of months just to kind of reset, try something new, spend some time with my parents, just basically hang out in Maine for a couple of months. And I came back to San Antonio and I was looking for a job. And at that time, I reached out to an old coworker of mine, Ross, who was my finance manager at Toyota. And I said, hey, I've heard really great things about the Cavenders. Do you think you can get me an interview? Well, next thing you know, his floor manager, John Mark, calls me and goes, hey, Josh is available. So Josh is my platform director. And he says, but you need to come in now because he's about to be gone for a week. So here I am going, oh my gosh, I need to prepare. And so I go in for my interview with Josh, and the first thing he asks is like, what do you want out of your career? And I looked at him and I say, sir, I want you to retire comfortably and I want to take your office.
You said that confidently.
Yeah, I was so.
Oh my word!
Yeah, and this was at Audi Dominion. I had never met this guy before, but I came in just guns blazing, thinking that But that's always been me. I've always had all these like big goals because in the end, I know that everything that I've learned from everybody that has invested in me, it's paying off because I paid attention. And I can't take all the credit because I've always been tenacious, but I've had a lot of really great mentors in my career that took the time to say, hey, we're going to invest in you, but this is their payoff,
Yeah. That's so cool. And when did you become GM?
So I just became general manager about 2 months ago, give or take about a week or so. Yeah. And what's funny is I was literally coming out of maternity leave. I just had twins 5 months ago.
No kidding. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. And I get a phone call from Josh. Josh has always been a huge cheerleader in my life, and also Marion. And Marion is one of the dealer principals for the group as well.
Oh, cool.
And they called me and they said, hey, we have an opportunity for Mercedes in Lubbock. I know you just came off maternity leave, but are you ready? And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
But you have to come in right now because he's taking vacation for a week, right?
No. So I told him, when will this change?
Didn't it feel like that?
It seriously felt like that. Because I asked him, hey, when would you need me there? Because we just had babies. I'm at home. I'm trying to figure out this whole situation. And Marion goes, Fab, yesterday. And I'm like, oh Lord, like, how am I going to figure this out?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So they gave a couple of weeks, and my husband ended up quitting his job. My parents relocated from San Antonio as well, and we all moved to Lubbock. And
no way. Look at you. You brought everybody to Lubbock.
Yeah, I brought everybody to Lubbock, but it's kind of cool because they believe in me, That's right. Yeah. And it just even shows that you have a team that's on your side that's willing to invest in you and give you those resources so you can be a part of that. That's really cool. Oh, man, so now I got to ask you, so if you look back at your journey to when you first started the Toyota store up until now becoming GM at Mercedes store, what were some of the big challenges that you had? Well, one of them has been just finding the right group, to be honest with you. I've worked with different groups and they're all wonderful and they're all great. They just weren't aligned with where I wanted to go. Yeah. There's some groups that they have salespeople in their roles for years and years and years, but the development of, getting to finance and getting to a sales manager just wasn't there. So that was a big challenge, was finding the right group. And when I was super, super blessed with finding the Cavenders, and they truly have made my career because they really, truly feel that promoting from within is the best way to go with an organization. You got to start in sales, you got to work your way up just like they did. One of the people that I admire a lot is Kate. So Kate is Stephen Cavender's daughter. And when I first started at Audi, she was our finance assistant. And they told her, hey, if you want to be a part owner one day, you need to work your way up. And she didn't just take the path of least resistance. She got into the nitty gritty of working at a dealership, and just admire that she just worked really hard. So that's one thing I had to overcome. Another thing that I had to overcome is just I had 3 kids in 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, you know what I mean? And when you're a mom, you always have that, okay, am I a good mom or am I going to work? Am I going to follow
That's
my
right.
career? So just finding that balance has also been a challenge in my personal career. But my husband is a stay-at-home father now. So
Good
he
for
did
him.
his job. He worked at the dealership too.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best I've seen, but don't tell him I said that.
He's
And
missed.
yeah. And so now he's at home with our kids, just trying to usher
Cool.
them into a new environment. And then
Yeah.
eventually he'll be back in the car business. But I wouldn't, that was a big thing for us that I was like, how are we going to manage this as parents? And then also just all the no's I was told throughout my career.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be everybody's favorite pick or the person that they believe in, but I was told no a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, a lot, a lot. And that's one big reason why I left Toyota was because I was one of their best sellers. I was a trainer. I had their commitment. I did community outreach and they refused to promote me. And I was like, what am I
Yeah.
doing wrong? And so I decided to leave the organization, which made me sad because, I loved working at Toyota Bernie, but when
Yeah.
I left, I was like, hey, that was the right move. And that was the learning path
Yeah.
that I probably was there a little longer than I probably should have been. But
Sure.
that's another thing that you got to learn.
Yeah. Well, if there's someone out there that's listening to this that really thinks that maybe the place that they're at now is not the best place for them, how would you describe what it's like once you do find that right place and once you do have the right leaders that are investing in you and empowering you to be the best leader?
So the crazy thing about it is you don't know until you leave.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like you're in this spot, and if you're just unhappy with what you're doing, but you love what you do, it might not be aligned with the organization's culture. You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? Like, I love the car business. There is nothing more gratifying than having your customer hug you or send you a thank you note because you helped them get into a vehicle that they didn't think was possible.
Yeah. How cool.
Or because you just went above and beyond. And that gratification is just amazing. And in my career now, being a leader, I have always had a lot of gratification from watching my people grow. Like,
Yeah.
promoting people is my favorite thing. And I love watching that. So if you don't feel like the organization that you're aligned with is not going to usher you in the right direction, or even just the culture isn't what you want it to be, you can make a change.
Yeah,
You
that's
are
right.
valuable. And that's the first step that I would suggest for someone to make, is really just at the end of the day, be like, okay, I am worth more than this. And I'm great at this, I'm great at this, I'm great at this, and just write it down. I'm big about writing it down. I always have a folder. And so
Just write it down.
I just write it down and write all the notes and write all the great things that you're good at. And just know your worth and know that somebody's going to see that worth. And when you find that organization that sees that worth, they're going to support you 1,000%, just like I have with the Cavenders. Like the other day, Stephen Cavender came and he said, I told him, sir, thank you so much for this opportunity. And he goes, no, Fab, this isn't a thank you. You earned this. And him saying that made me feel like, wow.
That's
Like,
cool. How satisfying.
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah. No, for sure it is. And, just kind of looking back on that. So, there's a lot of things obviously you've accomplished here in 2023, and there's a lot of things you're probably looking forward to for the future. If you look at what 2024 is going to bring, not only like you, but also your store and your family, what are some of the things in 2024 that excite you the most?
Everything. Like everything, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to say, but the one thing that I'm starting to see is ever since I came here, I've really changed the culture of the dealership. Everybody's a lot more happy, a lot more positive. I've had so many heart-to-heart conversations with my staff about what's their next step. That's the first thing I want to know about you. Is I have a staff of almost 60 people, and I sat down with every single one, and I asked them 3 questions. Number 1, what are you good at? Number 2, where do you see your opportunities, or where do you feel like you need more training to get better at? And number 3, what do you need as far as support to make your department run more efficiently and effective for our customers?
That's cool.
And I learned so much through those conversations because I actually care about people's careers. The car business changed my life dramatically. I have never known what financial freedom looks like until I came into the car business. And that
Yeah.
was, I already had a successful career at Nordstrom, but it's
Yeah.
not like the car business. Like,
No, it's not.
no, not at all. And it's so much more fun too. So I really want every single person here to have that kind of success. And I'm very big proponent of promoting from within. So just having those conversations early on in the year with, everybody in my staff and seeing, okay, you want to get from here to here. This is what we're going to do to get you prepared. So I'm just so excited about that. I'm really excited about becoming part of this Lubbock community because from what I can see, people are so extremely kind here.
Yeah.
And so polite, very well mannered. And I
cool.
just can't wait to actually be, part of this community,
Yeah. You feel like a newbie.
Yeah, I feel like a newbie. I'm
Yeah.
excited about that. And I'm excited about the growth within Mercedes-Benz. There's so much technology coming forth, especially with the EVs. That's one big thing that I am trying to push right now in Lubbock is, we're big on oil and gas because that's where a lot of our money comes from. But that doesn't mean that you can't start looking towards the future and getting a hybrid or getting an EV. I have an EV. I come from Audi, so that's one big thing that I love. At the end of the night, not having to stop at the gas station and just
you wake up with a full tank.
Yeah, I wake up with a full tank. I don't have to deal with the smell, the weird at the gas station.
Yeah,
I'm always running late, or you're like, oh man, I'll do it in the morning. And,
yeah,
it's the morning and you're already late. So I was like, let's not do that. So it's so cool to just plug it in my garage and be ready to go. So I'm really excited about the future in EV, where Mercedes-Benz is going as well.
For sure. And Audi has some really great EV product, but I got to tell you, the stuff that Mercedes is coming out with, it looks so cool with the technology that they have built into it. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And especially because as of 21 all the way through to 23, they just redid most of the line. So the technology on the inside, they all have the big screens on the inside, and then, just the way that they drive. Everybody, there's not songs about, hey, look how cool my Hyundai is. They're talking about Mercedes, no offense, Hyundai, but
Mercedes is the flex, right?
Yeah, it's the flex. You got to have the Benz, it's in every song. It's in our pop culture.
That's right.
And there's a reason for it because it is luxe. It is luxurious. It's technologically very inclinated. You've got the top performance on there. I love EV because it's straight torque when you take off. The engines, everything is just, I love Mercedes. And I'm kind of drinking the Mercedes Kool-Aid right now.
But it's because they got great stuff right now from what they have going on. If you look back at technology that they had around the turn of the century, let's say 2000 to 2010, compared to other vehicles that were out around the same time, you looked at Mercedes like it was, it existed, but it was more Mercedes and it was more, not necessarily outdated, but it was clearly in its own lane. Where now they have so much great technology and literally they are leading the charge in what that looks like, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, I definitely do. And I definitely agree 1,000%, because I that's a conversation I had with my staff. And I go, look, guys, there's a lot of really great competitors out there, but are they really competitors? Can they really compete with it? Because I see a lot of these vehicles and I know they're trying to cut costs, but in cutting costs, they're also cutting the performance for their customers. So cutting, the little things. If you get inside of, a vehicle that is $70,000, you expect $70,000 worth of luxury.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And you get inside and then the dials are plastic.
Yeah.
And the fixings are cheap. Even just your seatbelt buckle, that is just cheap. And so that's what I tell everybody. If you're going to buy something at this price, and it's not like before when you looked at Mercedes, BMW, Cadillac, Lexus, Audi, and there was a price discrepancy between, let's say, a domestic like a Ford or a GMC. But now, if you look at the SUVs, they're almost the same price. But the quality is, it's in the Mercedes.
It's a little bit different, isn't it?
It is. And even when you sit down, it's not real leather anymore. It's pleather.
Yeah.
And when you get into a Mercedes, we're still using leather.
One of the few. That's
Yeah.
right.
And it's just little things. And then also Mercedes realized that a lot of their consumers are actually women now. So they're redesigning a lot of these vehicles to adhere to what a woman needs. Like on the
Interesting.
EVs, there's like a middle hole area where you can put your purse. Things
Sure.
on your steering wheel. And it's a safety thing too. So when you're driving, you don't want to be, reaching over for something. You want
Yeah.
it readily available. And I'm only 5'4" and I've got little T-Rex arms. So for me, like reaching like the center console, sometimes I had to do that in some of the cars. But in
Yeah.
the Mercedes, it is so well just planned
Yeah.
for people to be comfortable in it without having to put themselves kind of in a dangerous situation or kind of a nuisance,
Yeah. That's cool, man. But obviously Mercedes has a lot going on. You've got a lot in your personal career that you have going on the next, not only like month, but also into 2024. So that's really cool to see. Huge props to you for leading your team and also helping them grow. Cause it's very clear, Fabiola, that that's a passion of yours, is really helping give your people the resources to grow. So that is so cool to see.
Of course, yeah. And like I was telling my husband, I know that this is a big chance, but the one thing that I always said that was going to be my big goal when I became a GM, because I told him I will be one day.
Yeah. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah, it's not an if, it's a when. And I always wanted to be a GM because I wanted to change people's lives, just like the general managers that I had changed my life.
That's cool.
Like Josh Hoffert, I will follow him to the ends of the earth because he was my general manager. And until years later, my finance director of a long time, Brandon Brock, who is fantastic, barely told me that as soon as I left the interview with Josh for the first time, he says, "That's my next manager."
No kidding.
And I was like, wow, like he only met me once and he already had that kind of instinct about me. And it's kind of nice that he's always believed in me. And obviously now giving me a store to run, the proof is in the pudding too. I can tell you everything all day long, but unless the proof is there. And so I'm just extremely thankful that he believed in me and he continues to believe in me because I was talking to one of my coworkers, Sergey. He's the GM over at the Audi store. Him and I did finance at Audi in San Antonio. And I told him, I want people to talk about me the way that I talk about Josh. And I want people to talk about me the way that I talk about Rick and Steven and Marion and Ray Sanabia, who's also another dealer principal. I want that respect and you have to earn it. So I'm trying so hard to kind of have a respectable career where people really truly feel like I made a difference in their life.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, Fabiola, they're going to be talking about you like that one day. I can already tell.
Thank you.
I can already tell.
Kind of you.
I can just already tell. And it's cool when someone's leading their team and they're in the trenches with them and helping them grow, empowering them to be the best they can be, and then also finding ways to fulfill their career. So it's so cool to see that. So Fabiola, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us today and kind of create this with us. And thank you so much for leading this charge for women in automotive.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. And thank you for highlighting this because there are a lot of women that feel like, hey, is it possible? And I'm the first person to tell you it is possible.
It's possible. That's right.
I've seen it done. I'm living this life and just find the right group, find the right people around you and surround yourself by people who believe in you. But the number one person that needs to believe in you is you. So just be out there and think that you're just this amazing person and you're a badass and you'll be successful.
That's right. It is possible. Thank you, Fabiola.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for watching this episode of In the Dirt with ASOTU. If you're new to our channel, make sure and mash that like and subscribe button. Also, check out some of these links for our other great podcasts and content.